Hello and welcome! In this learning space, we're going to explore two fundamental concepts in occupational safety management, hazard and risk. Although they often used as if they mean the same thing, understanding their differences can be the key to preventing an accident or facing it unprepared. This video is designed to help you identify hazards, assess risks, and apply these concepts in a formative way across three very different productive environments in a plastic manufacturing plant, where hazards include machinery with moving parts, hot surfaces, toxic fumes, excessive noise, and the handling of chemical resins that can cause irritation or allergic reactions. In a bakery, where staff face risks such as burns from ovens, cuts from knives and mixers, slips on slippery floors, inhalation of flour dust, and cross-contamination if proper hygiene practices aren't followed. And in a veterinary clinic, where hazards range from animal bites, exposure to biological fluids, handling of delicate medication, to injuries caused by sudden movements during clinical procedures or surgeries. Because no matter the setting, safety always begins with knowledge, observation, and proactive action. Basic definitions. Let's begin by understanding what a hazard is. A hazard is any situation or action that has the potential to cause harm. It could be an unguarded machine, a chemical substance, a hot surface, reckless behavior, or even an environmental condition like poor ventilation. On the other hand, risk is the likelihood that the hazard will cause harm and how severe that harm would be if it occurs. Risk depends on factors such as frequency of exposure, existing control measures, and the vulnerability of the people involved. For example, a sharp knife in a kitchen is a hazard, but the risk of getting cut depends on how it's used, whether it's stored properly, and whether the staff is trained to handle it. If the knife is poorly placed or used carelessly, the risk increases. Key differences: a hazard exists on its own needs present in the environment or activity. Risk, however, arises when we interact with that hazard without proper precautions. A hazard doesn't change, but risk can be reduced or eliminated if we take preventive actions. That's why in occupational safety, it's not enough to identify hazards, we must assess risks and take action. For instance, a flammable substance is a hazard, but if it's stored correctly, away from heat sources and with proper signage, the risk of fire is significantly reduced. Plastic manufacturing industry: in a plastic production plant, hazards are varied and often invisible at first glance. Machines with moving parts can trap limbs if unguarded. Extruders reach extremely high temperatures, and the fumes released during thermal molding can be toxic without proper ventilation. Risk arises when staff work without gloves, without protective goggles, or when areas lack proper signage. For example, if a worker approaches an extruder without thermal protection, the risk of burns is high. If chemicals are handled without a mask, the risk of intoxication increases. There are also ergonomic risks, such as injuries from repetitive movements while operating machinery or from lifting heavy loads without proper tech. And let's not forget the constant noise from machines, which can cause hearing damage if ear protection isn't used. The key is to identify these hazards and apply controls, physical guards, ventilation systems, training, active brakes, and constant supervision. Bakery: in a bakery, hazards may seem less serious, but they're present in every corner. Ovens and stoves reach high temperatures. Industrial knives and mixers can cause cuts, and ingredients on the floor, like flour or sugar, can make surfaces slippery. Risk manifests when staff work without thermal gloves, when knives are left in unsafe positions, or when spills aren't cleaned promptly. For example, removing a hot tray without protection can cause serious burns. A slip in the kitchen can lead to fractures. There are also risks from inhaling flour dust, which can affect the respiratory system if ventilation is inadequate and if hygiene protocols aren't followed. Cross-contamination between ingredients can occur, affecting consumer health. Prevention includes training, organization, constant cleaning, ventilation, proper use of personal protective equipment, and clear food handling protocols. Veterinary clinic. In a veterinary clinic, hazards are linked to direct animal care, medication handling, and exposure to biological fluids. A stressed animal may react aggressively. Blood, saliva, or urine can transmit diseases, and medications like anesthesia require absolute precision. Risk increases if an animal is handled without a muzzle, if care is provided without gloves, or if an incorrect dose is administered due to distraction. For example, a bite can cause serious injury. A mistake with anesthesia can endanger the patient's life. There are also postural risks when lifting large animals without assistance or working in uncomfortable positions during long procedures. And if biological waste isn't disposed of properly, it endangers both staff and the environment. Here, protocols must be rigorous. Use of protective gear, dosage control, constant cleaning, clear team communication, and proper waste management. Reflection, as we've seen, hazards are present in all work environments, but risk depends on how we respond to those hazards. Identifying, assessing, and controlling risks is what truly protects people. Safety isn't just a rule, it's a culture, a way of thinking, acting, and caring for those who share the workspace with us. Thank you for joining us. If you found this content useful, share it with your team. Reflect on the risks in your environment and keep building safer spaces for everyone.